So now after configuring everything from the config server to the shards, we are now going to connect to our sharded cluster using Mongos. Mongos is actually a separate binary. It's separate from the MongoDB service binary, but it does use the MongoDB port. So the first thing we have to do is we have to stop an existing MongoDB service. Mongos will not run unless you stop the MongoD service because MongoD is using the same port as Mongos. So we have to stop this service before we can get Mongos running. Next, we run Mongos using a binary that is installed alongside all of the other components of MongoDB. We're also going to run this in the background, and you'll actually see here, these are the configuration options. So the meaning of the configuration options are actually highlighted in the document that I shared in the first of this series of videos. So I'm going to now start this Mongos server. And you can see that the sharding has already started, or the process that connects to the sharded server has already started. You also see here a warning. You can ignore the warning, but it is important to note that in most setups, you will need 3 replicas in real life. For the lab, 2 would be perfectly fine. Now, afterwards, we can run the MongoDB shell. And you can see I am connected to Mongos. Now finally, I can add all of the shards to the cluster. So you can see here, I have added shard 1. I've also added shard 2. And I've also added shard 3. Now we can actually begin to use the sharded database. So now that we've already told the Mongo server where all of the shards are and where the config server is, we can actually start and shard a collection. So this is very simple. We just need to use a database or connect to a specific database. So in this case, I'm already on the sample database. Next, we have to create an index. So I am creating an index on the grades collection, and the index will be the class ID field. Next, I have to enable sharding on the database. So sharding has to be enabled on the database for me to be able to shard a collection. Finally, I have to actually shard the collection by specifying that we are going to be sharding the grades collection on this particular shard key and with an initial chunks of 3. So now it has successfully been sharded. Now, of course, there is no data yet in the grades collection. If we try and take a look at the grades collection, you can actually see it's currently empty. You have to shard it first before putting the data in so that MongoDB can easily distribute the data. Now I do have a sample data set that I have on this machine, and I'm going to import the JSON file into my database. So you can see it is now attempting to load the data into the database. Now that it's loaded into the database, we can check. And we are going to use the sample database again, and we are going to find the shard distribution. So we are going to say db.grades, and we are going to get shard distribution. So you can see that my data has already successfully been sharded into 3 chunks. You can see that here. And if I scroll up, you can see shard 2, shard 1, and shard 3. The order doesn't actually matter, but you can see that the data has already been successfully divided into chunks. So this is where you would know that your data has successfully been sharded and divided across multiple servers.